Welcome to Calming Sleepy Story, where forgotten secrets and shadowed truths come alive. Today, we unveil the Devil's founding father, a chilling tale of a cursed pact beneath Independence Hall, bloodbound to a sinister figure who shaped America's destiny in darkness. Prepare yourself for a journey into history's most terrifying hidden chapter. The Devil's Founding Father. Prologue, The Hidden Signature. Philadelphia, 1776. The ink was still drying on the Declaration of Independence when the parchment was slipped into a narrow drawer, locked, and stored in a hidden vault beneath Independence Hall. But the document stored there wasn't the one we know. It was older, thicker. Its edges were scorched as if singed in hellfire, and where the familiar signatures of Franklin, Adams, and Jefferson should have been, were names scratched in blood and symbols not seen in any earthly language. The man who signed last, beneath the others, wore a powdered wig and a smile that never reached his eyes. His name is absent from history books, though he stood among them in every painting, because he was never meant to be remembered by man, only by the one he served. Chapter 1. The Stranger in the Portrait. Washington, D.C. Present day. Professor Emily Vance, a rising historian specializing in Revolutionary-era documents, walked briskly through the dim corridors of the Library of Congress's restricted archives. Her fingers clutched a letter too strange to ignore. It had arrived that morning, addressed only to the one who seeks truth in ink and ash. Inside was a wax-sealed envelope. No return address. No postage. The seal? A colonial eagle, but with 3 eyes instead of 2, and the letter read, "History is a lie written by the victors. Come see the truth beneath the veil. Begin with the man who does not belong in the paintings. He watches still." The handwriting was archaic, quill-dipped, chilling. The phrase, "the man who does not belong," had haunted her all day. Eventually, curiosity pushed her toward the old Hall of Founders' portraits, a little-known private collection curated by fringe scholars and conspiracy historians. It was there, amidst yellowed oil and the stench of centuries-old varnish, that she saw it. A painting she'd never seen before. Unlabeled, it featured the original signers of the Declaration, but in the far left corner stood a man no one could identify. He wore a black colonial coat, his eyes gleaming red beneath the powdered wig. The artist had painted his mouth slightly open, showing teeth far too sharp, and yet his pose was calm, familiar, as if invited. A brass plaque beneath the painting had long been pried off, but someone had scratched a phrase into the wooden frame. "He who signed beneath the parchment." Emily stared at the man's face and felt a ripple of cold slide down her spine. Then the lights flickered. Behind her, a book thudded to the floor from a locked shelf. She turned. It was a colonial-era diary. The title read, "The Final Journal of Thomas Paine." And its first line, "They think they founded a nation, but in truth we birthed a throne for hell." Chapter 2. The Paine Revelation. Emily sat alone in the archive reading room, the flickering fluorescence overhead buzzing like hornets. Before her lay the fragile, yellowing pages of Thomas Paine's final journal, a document no academic had ever cited, much less known to exist. She flipped to the first dated entry, October 30th, 1776. They believe me mad, but I have seen what they will not admit. Franklin knows. So does Jefferson, but they are cowards in the face of what walks among us. The entry described secret midnight meetings beneath Independence Hall. Men she recognized: Franklin, Jefferson, Adams, and one other, the one called Silas Grieve. Not a man, not of flesh, at least, but wearing it like fine wool. He speaks 1,000 tongues, and none sound like they belong to the earth. Emily whispered the name, Silas Grieve. She had never heard it in any colonial record, yet the name stirred something primal, like the echo of a nightmare she hadn't yet dreamed. Payne wrote of an alternate document, one signed in candlelight with blood, not ink. A covenant, one that promised victory over the British crown, in exchange for a more ancient allegiance. The pages grew darker, more frantic. We gave him our oaths, our sons, and the future of this land. He gave us power, fire, invention, revolution. But his price, the price grows teeth. Emily swallowed. Her pulse thumped. As she flipped to the final page, she noticed something odd. The ink on the back cover was smeared, as though damp. She touched it. Her fingers came away red. Not ink. Blood. The overhead light cracked, pop, and the room plunged into shadow. A low hum built in the air, rising to a shrill whine. Then from the hallway, she heard footsteps, slow, heavy, and a voice low and calm, like molasses poured over gravel. You shouldn't have opened the book. Emily backed up, clutching the journal to her chest. The door creaked open. No one stood there, but on the wall behind the desk, burned into the wood, were the words, "He has returned." Chapter 3. The Man in the Ash Coat. Emily fled the archive with Payne's journal hidden beneath her coat. Rain sliced through the night as she hurried down Pennsylvania Avenue, her mind spinning like a broken compass. She needed answers. She needed Frank Ellsworth, a discredited historian-turned-conspiracy podcaster. Ellsworth had once claimed that a demonic entity had helped forge America's destiny. His career had collapsed overnight, ridiculed, blacklisted, forgotten. But now, everything Emily read in Payne's journal mirrored his wildest theories. She found him in a cluttered Georgetown townhouse, lit only by candles and old static-tuned radios. He opened the door with wide, terrified eyes. "You read the journal, didn't you?" Emily stiffened. "How did you? You smell like ash and sulfur," he whispered. "Just like I did." Inside, she handed him the book. He opened it reverently, trembling. "Thomas Paine wasn't mad," he said. "They made us believe he was so we wouldn't dig." He pulled an old photograph from a drawer, a black and white image of the signing of the Declaration from a private collection. In the corner stood the same shadowed figure Emily had seen in the painting, Silas Grieve. But now, she noticed something terrifying. Grieve wasn't aging. His face was exactly the same as in the 1776 painting, and again in a photo dated 1865, and again in one from World War I, standing among American generals, always in the background, always watching. They called him many names, Ellsworth said. The man in the ash coat, the hidden founder. But in truth, he is the author of the covenant. Emily's skin crawled. You mean the Declaration? Ellsworth shook his head slowly. Not that one. The other one. The infernal one. The one signed beneath Independence Hall in the hollow chamber. Sealed in blood and buried in the earth. It binds the soul of America to something ancient. Emily looked down at the journal. The last line now glowed faintly, as if lit from beneath the page. And on the 4th of the 4th century, he will rise and take what was promised. Ellsworth turned pale. That's this decade. A distant train horn echoed through the storm. But no trains ran in D.C. at that hour. Ellsworth's voice cracked. He's coming to reclaim the Pact. And Emily knew then. This wasn't just a legend. It was a countdown. Chapter 4. The Hollow Chamber. Emily and Ellsworth traveled under cover of night to Philadelphia, the birthplace of the Republic, and according to Paine's journal, the site of the hollow chamber where the true pact was sealed. Beneath Independence Hall, behind walls untouched since the 18th century, lay catacombs long sealed from the public. But Ellsworth had maps, ones erased from official records, smuggled from secret collections, and whispered of in societies that still feared Greaves' name. They entered through a forgotten basement in a colonial print shop. Dust choked the air. Rats scurried through crumbling stone. Each step down felt colder, more ancient. They found the chamber behind a rusted iron gate adorned with the same three-eyed eagle sigil that sealed the mysterious letter Emily had first received. Inside the hollow chamber, the walls were carved with names and symbols not found in any human language. The torches, somehow unextinguished after centuries, still burned with cold blue flames. In the center lay a stone table, and on it, a second declaration. Its paper was thick and gray, not parchment, but skin, bound in sinew, written in blood. The document listed 7 names, including Franklin and Jefferson, and one signature stood apart. Silas Grieve. Under his name was a symbol, not a signature, but a mark that moved on its own across the surface. Emily leaned close. The mark flared red. Suddenly, the walls groaned. Dust rained from above. The torches flared. Ellsworth screamed, backing away. Emily saw a shadow moving through the stone itself, like a figure pressing against the inside of a membrane. "The ink never dries," she whispered. The shadow stepped through the wall, materializing into the man in the ash coat. He wore no face, only an abyss where one should be. But his voice echoed in her mind, not her ears. "You opened the covenant. That which was bound must now be fulfilled." Emily trembled. "What do you want?" "The final signature. Yours. The pact must complete its cycle." "Why me?" The thing smiled, a crack across darkness. "Because you are the blood of the last signer. Your ancestor fled, hid the truth, but blood remembers, and your hand will close what is opened." The stone table pulsed. The document unrolled itself. A quill hovered in the air. The man in the ash coat extended a long, black finger toward her. "Sign, and I shall give you the world. Deny me, and I will take it." Emily stood frozen. Ellsworth whispered, "If you sign that, America falls." But if she didn't, would something even worse be unleashed? Final chapter. The Devil's Founding Father. Emily stood in the hollow chamber, the cursed parchment hovering before her like a living thing, trembling with infernal energy. The quill floated mid-air, dripping black blood. Behind her, Ellsworth wept silently, knowing this moment had been prophesied for over 2 centuries. Across the stone table, the man in the ash coat loomed. Not quite man, not quite demon. His form flickering like a shadow caught in firelight. He was still smiling, if the absence of a face could be said to smile. "Sign! Fulfill the pact." The chamber trembled. The air reeked of sulfur and rotting history. Emily's fingers hovered over the quill. Her hand burned where she'd touched the journal hours before. The sigil now branded her palm, glowing red-hot through her skin. "You don't have to do this," Ellsworth choked out. "You can fight him." Emily looked down at the names: Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, all tainted, all damned. Then she saw the 7th signature. It read, "Jonathan Crane, her ancestor. The traitor, the coward, the last of the signers who never fulfilled his part of the pact, and whose blood now pumped through her own veins." The man in the ash coat hissed. "He fled. You returned. You are the conclusion." Emily gripped the quill, and with a trembling hand, turned it around. "Then take what was promised." She drove the quill into her own hand, spilling her blood not on the page, but onto the stone floor of the hollow chamber. The document caught fire. The man in the ash coat shrieked, a sound like glass shattering inside a church bell. The chamber buckled. Walls split. Flames burst from the sigils etched into the stone. The screams of the damned echoed from deeper below. Hundreds, maybe thousands of voices, all founding fathers, all burning. Ellsworth pulled Emily back as the stone table cracked in 2. The Declaration of the Damned ignited and disintegrated into ash. The man in the ash coat reached for her, but his body began to unravel, his coat fraying into smoke, his form losing cohesion. "No, I am the foundation. I am the law. I am." And then silence. The hollow chamber collapsed. Epilogue: Ashes of Liberty. Weeks passed. Emily emerged a ghost of herself. The journal was gone, burned with the pact. No one believed her. The ruins beneath Independence Hall were sealed again by Homeland Security, classified under a non-existent agency. The official story was, gas leak, minor fire, no casualties. But Emily knew better. She had severed America's original sin. Ellsworth vanished soon after. Some say he was silenced. Others that he found another chapter, somewhere darker. And as for Emily, she still bears the mark. Some nights, she hears the whistle of an old colonial fife, distant and mournful. And sometimes, when she walks the streets of Philadelphia alone. She swears she sees a man in an ash-colored coat, watching from across the street, faceless, waiting for the next America to be born, and to make a new deal. Thank you for watching The Devil's Founding Father. If you enjoyed this dive into America's darkest secret, please like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories from history's shadows. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to never miss a chilling new tale. Until next time, keep your eyes open. Some deals are never truly finished.